Welcome to On the Record from CompTIA's Breakaway show in Texas. I'm here today with Greg Pierson, who is the Vice President of Sales and Marketing, and he's also the GM Worldwide of Sales and Operations for Intel. Quite the responsibility, I would have to say. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Robert. It's my pleasure.
So let's get right down to business, because I mean, with Intel, if we don't, we talk about everything else. Well, there's so much about Intel to talk about, and so much about this industry to talk about that I'd like to get right to it. So, does the cloud represent a huge paradigm shift in your opinion, or is it just a new way of delivering technology?
Well, I think the cloud's one of many compute models that exists out there in our industry, not only for business but for consumers. And you know, it's if you think back to the old mainframe world and you think about the transitions that have happened through client computing and server virtualization and all those things, cloud is just a natural evolution of another way to be more efficient, more effective, and deliver, you know, lower MIPS to the end user.
Sort of like the old time sharing.
I guess in some cases it is a time sharing, because it allows you to, in many cases, buy the application or buy the service that you want as you need it. Rather than having to make a huge capital investment all for yourself, you can actually share that expense with others.
So, well, let's start into. Is it going to change the technology? Like, how's it going to change the way SMBs operate?
I think in a variety of different ways. It's going to allow them to have access to a variety of different devices. If you look at how the consumer market is evolving today, a number of the consumer-led applications today are cloud-based. Look at all the social networking that exists. Look at all the things that's happened through search and all the products Google's brought to the market, for example. Look at all the things in iTunes and all the different services that are really coming from a consumer standpoint. Really, those are going to make their way over to and have an impact in business.
So if more and more of the business world is going to the cloud, whatever the cloud is these days, but going into either a public cloud or a private cloud or some hybrid model of that, what's that going to do to Intel? Because now all, you know, who's going to be selling your chips? How are they going to be sold? And how are you going to make up the revenue? Or is this a good thing or a bad thing for Intel?
I think it's a great thing. The more different compute models that exist out there, the more we're probably getting people to use technology, adopt technology, use technology as a competitive advantage. I think it's fantastic, and it probably also accelerates the adoption of technology. If you think about the U.S., we get a very tainted view of cloud computing. We've gone through the evolutions of mainframes and client-server computing models, and now the cloud has emerged. If you think about some of the markets far away from the U.S., some of the emerging markets, you go to Kenya, Nairobi, go to India, you look at some of these places, they are actually going to be able to deploy IT services much cheaper because they're going to go into a shared model right from the start. So more businesses, more companies, more people are going to be able to have access to those than what probably would be possible if they were to spend the capital all on their own.
So when people think of Intel, they tend to, at least people in this industry, we think of you as the guys who are putting a chip into a notebook computer or into a desktop, but Intel's so much more than that. So, and since all the sales roll up to you, the question I have is, give me an idea of what type of uses, like where Intel plays.
Yeah, well, I think if you just look at our industry as a whole, and if you were to sum up all the R&D dollars that were spent for the industry, and you look at the manufacturing capacity and the NRD dollars that are spent, there's a very few number of people that are actually doing it. You could probably count on one single hand who is spending a majority of delivering the innovation for this particular industry. And fortunately, we are one of those few. And so how this industry evolves, how it shapes, what some of the capabilities and technologies are, is really delivered through those investments vis-a-vis our chips. And so whether it is a server, whether it's a notebook computer, a desktop, whether it happens to be the switching infrastructure, the routing infrastructure, the wireless connectivity infrastructure, it all ties back to the silicon developments that we're doing. And so we see this this compute continuum of all these devices all interacting, and we've got a vision where, you know, Intel plays the center role on it.
So when you say all these devices, so you're involved in the telephone industry, you're involved in, like, what other industries besides the computer industry are you making chips for?
Well, that's
traditional.
I'd say that's a great question, because everything is becoming the computer industry now. It's no longer just the computer industry, everything's becoming the computer industry. The automobile industry has become the computer industry.
Tell me about it.
You know, the manufacturing industry has become the computer industry. The consumer electronics business has become the computer industry. It's all about the moving of digital bits through to all these different devices in the forms of applications, services, content. You know, it's become everywhere. And now what's happening is all these industries are starting to merge. And then all these different partnerships are starting to form in ways that you never would have thought would have happened before.
It's pretty amazing. I mean, I look at my car and I've got a key that they charge me $100 for, but I think it's $150 if I want to replace it. And it's because of all the technology that's in that key. And without that technology, my car won't run.
Yeah.
You're right. The world has changed so much in the last 20 years. And thanks to companies like Intel, we've been able to do that, because it seems like wherever we get up to where we think we're maximizing it, you guys show us that you're about 12 steps ahead.
Yeah, it's amazing the desire and the appetite that constantly is evolving and increasing by the various users out there is a platform which we constantly struggle to keep up.
So where do you as Intel fit into the cloud?
In all aspects of it. First off, I think from a cloud standpoint, and as you mentioned, there really are a variety of different, there's going to be the private clouds. And those private clouds, they are the data centers that the large companies that can afford to operate. People like Intel, people like IBM, the big companies, Verizon, and people like that. And they've got the infrastructure and capability, and they want to conserve power. They want to conserve cooling costs. They have all kinds of performance expectations that they want. They want to get the most out of those data centers. And so we have a whole product line with our Xeon product family. It's very targeted at helping those data centers be the most efficient that they can be. So that's one area. Two, you've got essentially the public clouds. And the public clouds are very cost-driven, very sensitive. They need to get the most out of their data centers, because most of those public clouds are all consumer applications. So they need to deliver the lowest cost capability while satisfying their particular consumer. So we have a variety of different products that are built specifically for them as well, led by our Xeon product family. And then you got the hybrid, which is kind of in between. And throughout all of those, a cloud doesn't exist unless something's accessing it. And so you've got all the client devices, whether they are a desktop, whether they're a notebook, whether they're a cell phone, or some other machine-to-machine device that's operating to a cloud that needs trusted connections, secure computing, and a variety of other things to make that overall model, implementable. So we play a role in that whole part there. It's all of that stuff, from the CPUs to the memory to the secure connections. We've got chips that go into all that stuff.